First, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to view this video. This is the first part of a 7-part mini-series of how to learn Photoshop. More mini-series will follow as long as you enjoy them. It'd be great if you could give us a thumbs up if you've learned something and you enjoyed it, or be honest and give us a thumbs down if you think I should never ever do this again. This mini-series is not a masterclass. It is a series of videos which will help you gain some general knowledge of how to use Photoshop confidently. When you first open Photoshop, you'll see a Create New on the left hand side. If we click that, you'll be then greeted with a window which has got loads of different presets, some which you've previously saved, some photo options, some print, art, web, mobile, film and video. If we just go to the print option, the right hand side of this panel gives you the options. So we can rename, we can change the width, we can change the height, we can change which measurement we're using, we can also change the resolution, and we can also change the color mode. Those are the main options you'll be using in this workspace. Once you're happy, click Create. When you first open Photoshop, it can be extremely daunting. There's a lot of things fighting for your attention and you honestly don't know where to look. Yours may look something like this. What we'll do is just tidy it up and make it a bit more easy to learn. We'll just hide these tabs by clicking the 4 little bars and clicking Close Tab Group. Same with the colour, same with the properties, and now we're okay. To the left hand side, we have tools. We have the Move tool, the Marquee, and the list goes on. What you can do is you can hover over the icons and it will give you a brief description of what the icon is and what it can do. At the top, we have the options, so depending on what tool you click, there will be further options above to assist you in what you need to do. Above there, in the main bar, we also have some further options like the mode, the adjustments, certain layer properties, type, and also some filter galleries, which we will look into a little bit further down the line. But feel free to always explore these, you can never do nothing wrong. That is the best way to learn in my opinion. Open the software, click loads of buttons, and see what happens. So the best way to see how everything will work will be to bring an image inside of Photoshop. There are many ways you can bring an image into Photoshop. Here's a few. If you go to File, we go to Open, locate the image, and then click Open. But what that will do is that will bring it into a new composition up here at the tab. You can always flick through the tabs, simply like that. But that is not what we want. We want it to be inside of this. You can copy and paste it. All of the shortcuts that are used in this video will be listed down in the description. I'm using a Mac, so I often say Command, but for Windows users, it'll just be Control. If you click Command and double click the locked background layer, what that will then do is unlock it. If you click Command and click the layer, you can click Command and C, and then Command and V to paste it over here. That's one way. To zoom in and out is Command and minus, and to zoom in is Command and plus. If you're too zoomed in or too zoomed out, if you click Command and 0, what that will do is that will make the canvas fit the screen perfectly. Other ways to find these is go to View, and then click Fit on Screen, zoom out, zoom in, or like we said, Fit on Screen. Another way to bring an image into Photoshop is to locate it from the internet and simply copy and paste it in. Another way, which is always my preferred method, is to save the image. That way you've always got it on file and you can always refer back to it at a later stage. Then what you can do is simply drag and drop it into the canvas. Resize it. Once you're happy with the size, you can either click the cross to say no, Command and Z to undo, or click Enter, or click the tick. So if we run through the tools, one which you've already used is the Move tool, which allows you to freely move. If you don't get these bounding box edges, you can simply click Show Transform Controls. What these do, these allow you to rotate. These also allow you to scale. They also allow you to free transform if you hold Shift, which is making things go out of proportion. My top tip is when you're using the Move tool, is if you click it, drag, and hold Shift, it will stay in a perfect line. This also works left to right. Next we'll look at the Marquee tool. The Marquee Tool is located just under the Move tool. Any tool which has a small arrow in the bottom right corner, if you click and hold, it will give you further options within that tool. Click the Marquee Tool, and all you do is click and drag, and you can delete. Don't be scared when this happens. All this means is this is a smart object and not a pixel layer. So if we right click it and click rasterize, this then turns it all into editable pixels. We can then backspace and delete certain sections of the image. At the top we have a feathering option. So if we make this 30 and then we make a selection and delete, it will feather the edges. To get rid of this, the top tip is a shortcut which is Ctrl and D, which means deselect, because this means that you've got a selection made and you don't want that. To undo something is Ctrl and Z. As you can probably tell, I work a lot in shortcuts. Below in the description, I will leave a big list of shortcuts, which will really help you along the way. Up here, we have different options when we're using the Marquee Tool. Up here, we also have different options. If you hover over, you will then see what they are. New selection, add to selection, subtract from selection, and also intersect with selection. If I choose this one, let me just take the feather off so it's a bit easier to see. Deselect. And then we run into it. It will simply add to the selection as explained. Backspace, and then Ctrl and Z to undo. Same again as if we make a selection and we choose this one, it will do as it says and take that away. Intersect, this will allow you to make a selection and everything which overlaps it will cut out. Then you can delete. Another great function of the Marquee Tool is if you use the new selection and make a selection, click V or just click the Move tool, hold Shift and drag up. It also allows you to extend the canvas. Below the Marquee, we have the Lasso tool. The Lasso is pretty much the same as the Marquee. It allows you to draw, and it also allows you to delete. It allows you to feather, and also allows you to select a mask. Layer masks is something we will cover at a later date. Below that, we have the Magic Wand tool. How the Magic Wand functions is if you go to any area and click, it will choose the same color. Next, we have the Crop tool. From the corners, we can drag down, arrange our composition, and then click enter. If you're still missed out like me, what you can do is then choose a selection in this fashion. The eyedropper tool is a great tool to pick colours. It is best known as a colour picker. If we use the brush function, if you click option, it will then appear, which makes it very easy to choose colours when you're brushing. If you click option and click the house and then drag through, that is the exact same colour as the house. Ctrl and Z to undo. To break down the brushes, you have the brush options up here. If you click the little arrow, or to access that, if you double click or right click, it will give you the option here. It allows you to change the size. The hardness is pretty much self-explanatory. It affects the hardness of the edges. To change the colour of a brush, all you need to do is click here, the top swatch, and then choose which colour you want. What I advise is whenever you use a new brush, is to make a new layer, which is down the bottom right. I'm just going to draw the X to show you an example. As if you click the eye, it will hide it. This also allows you to freely transform and do whatever you want to this top layer. Same with the bottom layer. With the new layer selected, we can click the eraser. Within the eraser, there are 3 different functions. The 2 most used are the normal eraser tool and the magic eraser. The eraser tool works in the same fashion as the brushes, but instead of putting down pixels, it takes them away. Another option is if you hold and click magic eraser, you can also take away large pixel areas. The next tool is the paint bucket tool. The paint bucket tool also has various options inside. We will stick to the paint bucket tool for this example. Click G or the paint bucket tool, choose your selection of blue, and then there we go. We can also then take away the cross. If we go back into the brush tool, a couple of functions. The left square bracket key can make the brush smaller, and the right one can also make it larger. If we click one area, move down to where we'd like the brush to continue, click Shift and then click, it makes one straight line. If you try and do a freehand, it's extremely hard. Another way is also with our friend Shift, click it, hold Shift and simply drag. This also works in other directions. This does not work diagonally, unfortunately. The pass tool function is to remove any imperfections on the image which you no longer want. So if I zoom in and find an object, locate the object, make a selection of the object, click and drag, holding Shift to ensure it's in a straight line, then release. A better example would be something more obvious, like this tree. This is just a quick way to show you. This is just a quick way to show you the tools. This is not the finished article of which I will produce. Next tool is the blur tool. If you click the blur tool, what that will do is if you brush over an area, it will simply blur it out. Vice versa, if you click the sharpen tool, ensure that the brush is nice and big, it will also bring back the information in a sharper form. The smudge tool allows you to move pixels freely in a smudge liquefying fashion. The dodge tool can be used to make areas brighter. You can choose whether you want the shadows, the midtones, or the highlights to be made brighter. Within that, we have the burn tool, which works the complete opposite. We have shadows, which will make them darker. We have the midtones, and then we also have the highlights. Next, we have the pen tool. The pen tool is something we will definitely be covering in a later stage. We click the pen tool. What this will do, will allow you to freely draw a shape. If you don't see nothing, up here you've got the fill. Up here you also have stroke, which is also known as an outline. We have stroke options, which are lines and also some dots. With the type tool selected, we can then click and drag and make a text box. It allows you to type. You can highlight all the text. You can center align it, left align it, right align it. Change the color. You can even warp the text. You can also change the leading, the tracking and the kerning. To change the font, all you need to do is click up here on the left, click the drop down and find a different font. The next tool is the shape tool. If you click and hold, you'll see there are other options within there, but we'll just stick to the rectangle tool. Click and drag. Make sure your fill is selected, and then you have a shape. If we tidy the composition up, we can delete the top layer which you no longer need. If we take a look on the right, we have the layers panel. We have the rectangle shape, we have the text, and we have the house. To rearrange the layers, just simply click and drag and move it to where you'd like it. In the layers, it allows you to have groups, which is select both layers and click Command and G. It also allows you to merge by selecting two layers, right clicking and click and merge layers. That makes it into one layer. If we highlight all the layers, right click and make them into a smart object, then double click the icon. It will open a new composition. We can then alter the layers, add or delete them, then click save, and then go back into our composition and it'll update this file. Down here we have the link files, we have the effects, we have the masks, we have the adjustments, groups, new layer and delete. Now we'll add an adjustment layer. If we click and hold, we can click brightness and contrast, and we can toggle it up here. We can also drag this panel out, move it to somewhere where we like, and then also carry on to adjust. The great thing about adjustment layers, as opposed to adjusting it directly, is you can right click and clip and mask it. The best way to explain a clip and mask is whatever the arrow is linking to, it will only affect that layer. If I duplicate the layer, right click and duplicate, click OK, move it down, make an adjustment layer now of brightness and contrast, turn the brightness right the way up, right click and clip and mask it. It will only affect the layer which it's clipped to. The beauty of a clip and mask is you can always take it away later on when you're working. One of the last things we'll look at is the filters. You can locate the filter gallery up here. There are many options. These are something which I don't really use, but sometimes they can be used extremely effectively. Another thing we look into is if you click filter, there's also the blur. Gaussian blur is probably my most used. It allows you to blur the object. This also works on any layer, so if you make a rectangle, click filter, click blur, Gaussian blur, click rasterize, make sure you can see it. It will only affect that layer. Motion blur is another one. If we find that, we can toggle the angle and the distance, and it will make the object look like it's moving in motion. There are many filters you can use here. Another common one is the liquify tool. We zoom in, make the brush bigger using the square bracket. We can drag and alter whatever the pixels are. That is the end of this video. Thank you very much once again for tuning in. Anything which I have missed, we will most definitely cover in later lessons. We'll be looking at how to cut people out, how to create an advert, and also later on down the line, some album artwork. Feel free to keep updated with these videos by subscribing. As I said in the beginning, if you learned something, you found it fun and interesting, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't learn nothing, thought I should never do these, give it a thumbs down. Be honest, it's the best way I can find out if it's been useful or not. To keep in touch with me, you can also head over to my Instagram, which is www.instagram.com/joeharperartwork to see some of my latest work. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you next time.